Salvation is what? Free. But getting it to the next person could be what? Very expensive. No church is great by paying a cheap price. No church. It's good to pray for increase, growth. Lord, we want our church to be great. If you want a great church, get ready to pay a great price. Great churches make progress on the back of genuine burden bearers, not pleasure seekers, not miracle seekers. Great churches make progress on the backs of genuine burden bearers, genuine burden bearers, not pleasure seekers, not miracle seekers. Barnabas and Paul were described as men who have risked their lives for the name of the Lord. Luke chapter 15, verse 16, 26. Epaphroditus, Paul's fellow worker, came close to death because of the work of Christ in Philippians 2:30. Now, the work of Christ will cost us something for it to prosper. It will cost our time. It will cost our money. Our times, it will cost our life. In fact, if you have not done the work of the kingdom, that at a point you broke down, you are not there yet. You know, there was a time, oh Lord have mercy. There was a time that I was preaching back to back. Oh my God. One day I was preaching. I don't know how many of you can remember. I was preaching in this altar when we were still at Elevre. I was preaching in this altar. The next thing I did was I collapsed. Some of you didn't know that time. It was in a church service. And I still got up and still ministered. It was in our service of one. Still ministers. Prayed for the people. Mommy was so afraid that time that Mommy had to call Mommy and Daddy. I said, nothing is happening to me. But me, I know that I overlabored myself. We are not saying you shouldn't rest, but we are saying that there are times the burden of destiny and the burden of the kingdom. You see, until you get to a point, maybe as an usher, as a worker, that you finish service and you will get home until they will use either water or something to massage you. Some of us, we have not even started yet. Those who only serve God from a position of confidence are not useful in extending and expanding God's kingdom. Apostle Paul in Romans chapter 16 mentioned Priscilla and Aquila. You will see that in verse 3, as fellow workers who have laid down their own necks for the sake of the kingdom. They laid down their own necks. Now that didn't happen, did it stop me from laboring? It didn't stop me. You know, I told my children, told my wife recently that the day I will stop preaching is the day I will die. That's what I'm called to do, and that's what I will keep doing. What people lay down for the kingdom is what brings progress and growth, not what they laid up for themselves. What people lay down for the kingdom is what brings growth, not what they lay up for themselves. Now, during our testimony services, we celebrate what people have laid up for themselves. The breakthrough they've had, the houses they built, the cars they bought. It's not wrong, but oftentimes, nobody celebrates how people won souls. The houses, the cars, the breakthroughs. But unless we use these things to help advance God's cause, they are useless as far as God's cause is concerned. We are not saying owning a house is useless. We are saying if you don't use it to advance God's cause, if there is no thy kingdom come or kingdom coming, it is useless. No, I had an encounter 1996, I think 96, 97, stroke 97. I had an encounter that changed my perspective about God, about kingdom, about sacrifice. I was in a village in Taraba State, um, 95 up to the year 2000. And one of the days I was praying, I said, Lord, because I was growing up, and it's not like today that many people wants to be pastors, that God has brought shift and brought knowledge, and God is releasing the dimension of wealth to the church. In the 80s, when we gave our life, the richest pastor at that time, in fact, if a pastor owns a bike, and my pastor was a very good man, very good and very sincere man. Very good and very sincere man. But because of movement, he went and bought one bike that time called Yamaha 80. Some of you don't know Yamaha 80. Now, it was a fairly used bike. So any day some of us are around the church, if you have not eaten for that day, you don't pray for pastor to go out. Because 15 minutes you'll be trying to push the bike for bike to start. You will push, the thing will do. He said, it's about to start, let's push again. So when God, with things like that, when God called me, I began to cry. Well, God called me when I was still doing my business. I was making some good money in my business. Before God said it's time to stop and go into full time, I cried. And Lord, I don't want to do ministry like this. And God said, okay, do you want me to trust you and hand over wealth to you and bring you to a place where your life will change? I said, okay, I will show you something. He didn't show me that day. So one day I just had an encounter. I walked into that church, village now. They didn't have roof, no ceiling, nothing. They didn't even floor the place. And in that encounter, I saw swamp. What do you call the thing? Duck farm. Duck. Messed up everywhere. Please pay attention. What you call bear. Messed up everywhere. And while we were growing up, they taught us if we see such thing, we should bind pollution. Brothers and sisters, please, when you see revelations, ask God for clarity and interpretation. The Holy Spirit is the one that has clear. So I said, I bind every pollution by the blood of Jesus. And the Lord said, keep quiet. I was watching. The next thing he did is, how much do you have there? I said, I don't have any money. He insisted. I said, the only money I have is 250 naira, that is 100 naira. Given to me by someone to keep is not my own. He said, bring it. I gave it to him. Very real. He flinged the money away. I said, this one is not my own. And I even brought the thing, he fling it. Are you hungry? He said, I want to show you something. I said, what is it? He said, if I get one bag of this excreta and give to you as gift, would you collect? Will it be useful to you? I said, no. He said, this money you are crying for, that's the way money is in heaven. Are you aware that you don't need money in heaven? You don't use money in heaven. The currency, whatsoever, is not useful in heaven. It's useless in heaven. He said in heaven, this is the way it is. The same way this escalator is not useful to you, that's the way money is not useful to me in heaven. But it's useful to me if you can use it to advance my kingdom here on earth, because it is a legal tender here. He said, then now, I came to answer your question. The question is that I came to make you a custodian of wealth. But I want you to know that you are a caretaker. Would you agree that anything that I put into your hand, I can pass through you to give, to distribute it? I said, yes, Lord. That was the day. I'm sharing a secret about my life you don't know. That was the day God told me, and I have maintained it, that every day from that day, that something needs to leave my hand and enter somebody's hand. The only day it has not happened is if I am indoors, maybe for retreat or anything, if I'm working. Whether I know the person or not. There are times, see, that's why sometimes when some people take some of the things we do for granted, I laugh. Some of you were around some years back in this church. A brother was sharing, I think it was, whether during my birthday, a brother was sharing a testimony and said, evil, but sometimes he gives in the flesh. I laughed. Now, the person that shared that testimony, when he was in a tight corner, when he was getting married, there was no money for him to go for his introduction. I was sitting in my office and God said, call him, give him so and so amount of money. Now I'm saying it because God told me, so don't be planning your introduction on marriage and come to ask me for money. And I called him to my office, he came, he cried that day. I said, this is what God asked me to give you. When he was doing the real traditional marriage, I know what God used us. It became a very big relief. But because he got it cheaply, he now said it's in the flesh. It's not. I mean, while if God didn't move me to give you, I won't give you. You know, there was a time in this church, I made it a point of duty that every woman that gives birth that time, there's a certain amount of money me and mommy go and give. But we stopped it. Why did we stop? Some of them will go and say, Kai, have you collected your own? Daddy has come, he has given me. Did it? So I say, okay, they are taking it for granted, I won't. But from that day, there are times that will be the last thing I have, and I will hear God say. And if I do it, I go and sleep. Because 1996, it was settled that this is. So if you see me, no matter how little it is, I move, and it's because it's. And from that time, I've always seen constant supply. If I mean constant. So anytime it appears as if for a while, there are things I'm seeing I don't like. The next thing I go back to do, I go to God. I say, God, why is this happening? He tells me. There was a time for almost 2 months, my account was blocked. Things were not happening. I went to God. God said to me, I was taking somebody through a process. And what caused that problem for me was 5,000. God was taking somebody through a process. And I said, will this person be suffering for 2 days, no money to eat? I took 5,000. I said, go and get food, eat. I need you alive. My account blocked. I went to God. God said, that person, the problem of that person is appetite. If the person have need, the person will do anything, even from an unrighteous means, to meet that need. So I wanted to take the person through a process and bring the person to a point where the person can trust me and no hunger can kill the person. He said, you truncated the thing. So that is why I now transferred the thing to. So even in that obedience, I went through something. So you need to understand what it is. So what people lay down for the kingdom is what brings progress and growth, not what they laid up from themselves. Unless we use these things to help advance God's cause, they are useless as far as God's cause is concerned. The people that will count in God's scheme of things are those who see their promotion as means of influencing more people for Jesus. Don't just do that house opening because you want to show people how you have arrived. Don't do that car dedication because you want to show people how you have arrived. How many people is it bringing to Jesus? To them, more money means more souls. They use their money in exchange for souls. The only thing money means to such people is how to reach more people with the gospel. Some call them money missionaries. Such people will not allow anyone to go to hell because they refuse to give of their resources. I traveled some time ago to my village, and I was praying that morning, and God showed me one church. The church is in a garage. I've forgotten the name. In fact, they were calling that church the name of the man that owns the place. How did I even know the man? I've forgotten his name. I think my mom will know the man. Now, some years back, I remember I was I came from a village. I was in that village. The man was sick. And the man was so sick that people in the village, they were praying for the man to die. I think I went to the market that day with my mom, and I heard some people saying, alive, is he still breathing? While the man was still alive, women have gathered, have gone to gather sticks, waiting for. So his garage, that's where they were doing the service. I was praying. Some people said, go to this big church, go to that big church, go to that church. And God said, go to this church. So I left that day, trekked into the church. As I got into the church, their instrument. This, is it 25 or 30 liter jerry can? That's their instrument. A boy used 2 sticks to be beating the thing. So there was just one seat outside. Everywhere I filled up. They had to plead with a boy to get up. I sat. The pastor preached very well. Preached. And now said, new timers. I got up. He now said, brother, can I pray for you? I got to the altar. He said, kneel down. So I knelt down. He was praying. It was when he was praying, he said the Lord spoke to him that this man is my own. I didn't say anything to him. We finished praying. I didn't know that God sent me to that church to meet need. So they now said that the pastor's bike had issues. The engine packed up, so they needed money. So they say, can you give offering? Some people were giving 100 naira, 200 naira. The bike that needed thousands of naira to. You are here, they are giving 100, 200. You can do it. I said, but God, I came to handle a project now. He didn't talk again. I raised my hand. I said, how much is the money they mentioned? I said, can you give me 5 minutes? Because from our house to the place is no more than 5 minutes walk. I just walked home, wrote a check. Added more than what? Because the mechanics can tell you so and so amount, they needed some things. I brought the check. I didn't know that a young man I passed 20 years ago that left Zaria, that's in the village, is in that church service. It was when I left, he said, you know that man? I said, we don't know him. He said, can you go to my village? Some people don't know my name. But there's something you will mention that will make them know. He said, can you remember one evil tree in that village that they cut that time? This man is the man that brought his team and they prayed and they cut the tree. He said, hey. So when I came back and brought the check, the next thing I heard the pastor say, Daddy, we finished and left. After that day, the man left that place and needed to start up. God told him to go a new fresh work. So he now got a place. We talked. He now told me, we got a place. This is the amount they say we should pay monthly. I said, go back to them. We won't pay monthly. Tell them this is so and so amount we are going to pay. I told them in bulk for 1 year. If they agree, let me know. He went there and discussed with them, when they had that money, and because it was for 1 year, they agreed. So can I have your agreement? I've not been to the church till today, but I sent money, and it's not a branch of this ministry. And I met that man just once. I sent money. I said, pay for the hall. As long as you're going to preach Jesus, people will be saved. Recently, a pastor had attack in his eyes, and he was going blind. And they called me and they told me. I said, no, a soldier of Christ is not under our watch. How much? They mentioned. I said, well, I don't have the whole money, but I said something tangible. And they did the operation and God showed mercy. My joy is that a soldier was restored on his feet again. If you are gathering all and accumulating it for yourself, God forbid, a time is going to come. Are you aware that when a man closes his eyes or her eyes, you don't know what happened to your money? I know